Okay, here's a brand new Kia Optima Turbo, and this is before the Phoenix fuel converter. And that is the performance prior to a Phoenix fuel converter.
Flat on the floor.
And that was flat out. Not a whole lot. Let's see what we can do after the installation. Got a brand new Kia Turbo. We're going to show you the installation procedure on how to install on a brand new vehicle. And we'll be back in a little bit once this thing cools off. Okay, we're going to be starting the installation on a brand new 2015 Kia Turbo. And the first thing we're going to be doing is you've got to inspect the engine, take a look, and you've got to remove the top cover.
Just tell them little pop clips.
And you've got to take a look. And take a look real close. You've got some clips to be careful of. Those clips just pop off. You've got to inspect the engine closely and find all of where your heater hoses are and where your fuel inlet is. Next step, we're going to be disconnecting the air filter and the air filter box to be able to make some room. And as you can see, everything is very well tightly packed, so you need to be careful. We took the air snorkel off that goes down to the turbo. Down in the back, we removed the 2 bolts in the front. We removed the whole air box.
There's 2 bolts here.
2 bolts behind the battery. Pull the whole air box out of the way. That way we can get down here to the front. And the difficulty, then there's a bolt in the back.
Right here. And then separated the air tube.
We separate the air tube and we tuck that out of the way for safety's sake so we can get down here and we can get some room. Now, one of the things is the coolant line that we're going to be using is right down here. Right?
Yeah, it's actually the supply line for the oil cooler, engine oil cooler, which if you look right there at the filter, you can see where I've got the line crimped off.
There it is. It is so tight in here, guys, so you got to be careful. Make sure the engine's cool when you're working on this and not hot. Okay, and you can see the Phoenix fuel converter is already installed.
And we're going to disconnect the keeper, fuel line keeper.
Now you've got a fuel line keeper up here that's going to be disconnected.
And then this gray piece right here is actually your release. So as it's snapped on, you have to slide a tool down in between this metal and this gray plastic and continue to push that gray plastic as you slide that line off.
And be careful not to break it.
And then you're apart.
Okay.
From there, what we'll do is we will make we'll use a We'll use one of this style connectors for our 5/16 fuel line that will snap into here, into place. We'll route our line down to our Phoenix, to our fuel converter, and then we'll route our other line from the fuel converter back up, back into place here, and that will give us our fuel flow. So I'm going to make fuel hoses.
Fantastic. While he's making a fuel hose, we're just going to go a little bit more light. Be able to show you a little bit better of where the fuel converter is. See how tight of a fit that is? So you need to be real careful if you're doing this install on your own. You need to make sure that there's enough room. And you can see that we're looking at one of the fuel intakes on the fuel converter there. There's your ground line. There is the other fuel. The outlet is tucked way underneath. It's very difficult to get to, but you can see down there they crimped off so we don't have antifreeze flowing everywhere. This is actually a fuel pump for the direct fuel injection on this engine that creates an enormous amount of fuel pressure, and there is no direct pressure relief valve, so you need to be very cautious on relieving the fuel pressure from this engine. Okay, the fuel line has been made. As you can see, we've made our custom fuel line. Fuel line runs around, goes down.
You don't even know what it is now.
Move. You can see how the line's been routed underneath. Trying to get a good shot. You can see the fuel line down there, and we've got the other fuel line connection right there. Okay, and then the fuel line comes up. We've got our adapter, and that adapter runs straight back. That's the line that runs back to your fuel tank. And again, we're using the original OEM safety clip on the fuel connector to make sure that we're connected back to the factory onto that extension that we used. And at the moment, we're going to find a good ground, and then we're going to put everything back together and fire it up. Okay, we're reassembling the whole system back together now, and as you can see, we've got everything that's got good clearance now. We're adding another tie strap down on the bottom. As you can see, it's not very easy. Again, everything is very tight.
We're doing that just to keep any wear off any parts, any vibrations from wearing anything.
Making sure that nothing's going to rub up against each other and wear on anything. So
this is a brand new car, so it's not like we can blame it on somebody else if something happens.
You can see that nothing is touching. And so we've got real good clean connections all the way throughout. And you can see the fuel converter's tucked in nice. You've got a nice ground that's run around. And this is the whole air hose assembly. It's going all back together.
Anybody who's dealt with these clamps know you almost have to be fast, because these are just wide enough that special pliers don't get them.
Careful with the clamp and don't hurt anything, especially yourself or the hose, because nobody wants to hurt a brand new car. Alright.
And no, it will not void the warranty on this car because of the Magnuson-Moss Act. They have to prove without a doubt that it damaged it, caused the damage to void any type of warranty, and the fuel converter can't damage anything unless by chance a heater hose, a water hose would come off or something like that.
So that's why it is ultimately one of the most important things, is to make sure you've got good clearances, everything is tied down nice and tight. You've got everything tied down nice and tight and strapped up and out of the way to make sure that you are protected by the Magnuson-Moss Act. So your warranty will stay intact. Another word of caution, folks, with anything new, make sure when you're reconnecting everything, do not forget all of your air hoses, all of your air lines, your vacuum tubes, and any other safety equipment. Make sure whatever you take off goes back on.
Because if you by chance forget something and it triggers a check engine light, if you don't have the proper equipment, it is a trip to the dealer. Which most of you guys at the garages have the stuff to get in them. You guys at home may or may not.
This part can get a little bit tricky, so be very careful and make sure that all of your components are going back in the way they came. Cannot stress that enough. Please make sure that everything lines up properly.
If you are unsure of yourself, take it to somebody who is.
Yes. If you are unsure that you cannot do this job, take it to someone that does know what they're doing. Preferably a certified technician that knows how to install a Phoenix fuel converter and has been properly trained on the procedures.
Most of the cars are relatively easy.
Alright, the fuel converter's been put on. The owner's going to be taking the car for a test drive. And they will be back. Unless they watch that water. Okay, takes off a little bit better than what it did before, huh? Alright, Miro, what's the first thing you noticed?
The ease it took for me to press on the gas and accelerate.
Power.
And power, yeah, very at ease, very easy to accelerate, and as I can tell by now, that less fuel consumption.
Are you impressed?
Absolutely.
That's what we want.
On a brand new car, you're impressed with the difference?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I'm excited.
Well, we look forward to hearing back from you in a week or two on fuel mileage and see what the difference is.
All right.
Be great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.